Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. All my clocks say noon now, so I know everybody's busy. So,
Good.
First thing I'd just ask that everybody please mute your phones. I think there's some who still haven't done that yet. There will be plenty of time for Q&A, both if you want to send in any questions that you might have throughout the updates today through the chat function. Or at the conclusion of our presentation, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A that way as well too. We should have plenty of time to answer any questions that all of you may have. So first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us today. I think I know most of you and looking at the RSVP list, but those of you who don't know me personally, this is Jay Byers, CEO of the Greater Des Moines Partnership. And first and foremost, just thank you for being investors in the Greater Des Moines Partnership and being regional members. We just want to let you know how much we appreciate it. And during these tough and challenging times, more than anything, if any of us can be of assistance, through these calls or anything that we can do, whether it's me or any of our team members, please let us know. Happy to chat one-on-one with any of you anytime. And you're going to hear that theme throughout the course of this call this morning. I know a number of you were part of our update last week. We want to do these on a regular basis because this is ongoing issues that we're dealing with as a region, and everything is continuing to evolve. But more than anything, as a native Iowan and having lived in the DSM USA region now for many, many years, I think more than ever we've proven once again that we're a strong region, that we're a resilient region. And just to continue to see so many of you and so many others in this community just step up in ways that we've never thought we would have to do, and dealing with situations where there is no playbook. But again, I could not be prouder of all of you, of our team, and of this region and state. And so really what we're going to do today is just bring you up to speed on some new initiatives we're working on, update you on some of the things we talked about last week. And then again, to have opportunities to answer questions and to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about towards the end of this call. And just as a reminder, the partnership, as I mentioned last week, we have put together a short-term strategic plan, basically really looking at three big themes. And that is, number one, what can we do to help keep businesses in business? Number two, what can we do to help keep people working? Number three, what can we do to help keep the region healthy and safe? And so really we have redeployed, pivoted, shifted all of our resources in terms of human capital and time and other resources into really focusing on that programming and that short-term programming for the next 4 to 8 weeks, and really focusing on everything we can do to do those three things. And so without sort of further ado, we are going to move into updates from our senior team. We also have some guests that will be participating in this as well too, with some programs and initiatives that we've been working on with our regional community members. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany Tauschak, our Chief Strategy Officer, and provide an update on a number of the communications initiatives and related strategies. So Tiffany.
Thanks, Jay. And thanks everybody for taking time for this investor and member briefing today. I wanted to bring you up to date on some of the key initiatives that have been in the works and been updated since we visited last week, and how those align with our key strategies. So first, the Keeping Businesses in Business strategy. So as mentioned last week during our call, we launched the Leadership in Times of Challenge podcast and have had a number of really great guests, including Ambassador Branstad, Dr. Angela Franklin, Dan Houston, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, Larry Zimpelman, and others. And we continue to release these every Tuesday and Thursday, and they truly dive into, have a great conversation with these leaders who are providing advice and talking about how they have overcome and faced challenges in the past. Today's podcast we're releasing is from our board chair, Tom Mahoney. So encourage you to take a listen if you have not. It's great content to share with your teams as well. On Friday afternoon, just going into the weekend, we published a new DSM Local Challenge video, which features small businesses from around the region, and it encourages, again, folks to stay safe, but also support local businesses. So would ask you to please take a look at that video and help us with continuing to leverage that message, DSM Local Challenge. We use it as a hashtag in many of our social media posts, but want to continue to share those stories and ways that we can support local and small businesses right now. That hashtag, DSM Local Challenge, continues to gain traction. We have now more than 2,600 posts and nearly 29 million impressions of that hashtag since we launched it. So we also have had an ongoing bingo contest for the DSM Local Challenge. Again, just looking to find creative, fun ways to get people engaged with supporting local. And that bingo game will be extended on social media to run through the weekend. So that's still available for anybody that wants to participate. We shift and focus on the Keep People Working strategy. We also have launched a new DSM Employment Ready podcast that's aimed at helping ensure people in the region have tools, tips, and techniques to increase employability and value and really be the employee that they want to be. While many are very, very busy right now, we also understand that this is an opportunity for folks to upskill. So this gives them that toolkit to learn more about that. And the first podcast of the series features Brian Barry with Palmer Group, and in conjunction with this, we're also working with Palmer Group to send out employment tips on social media channels and continuing to release more podcasts as we move forward. Another highlight related to our Keep Our Community Healthy strategy, our DSM Strong message continues to, again, gain traction in the community. We released a video last week and have had tremendous feedback on that DSM Strong video, which really curates different photos and videos that many of you have sent us and that we've seen through different social media. Our team compiled that. Derek Lippincott was the lead on that project and put together a fantastic video that has had more than 81,000 total organic reaches at this point and more than almost 27,000 video views already. So it's a great video. We encourage you to take a look at it and again, share that with your networks and your team. It is truly a way that we can show pride and support in our community. We have multiple other videos and content that's in the works as it relates to our Keeping Our Community Healthy strategy and that DSM Strong content. I will say our DSM Strong content and that hashtag on social media, there have been more than 3,100 posts already about it and over 22 million impressions. So again, a lot of pride in that DSM Strong message. So touching all of these different strategies, we continue to host and put on multiple different virtual events to provide our region with really relevant content and conversations and access during these times, and would ask you and invite you to take a look at our partnership events calendar on our website to register for any of those events. And of course, your team members and others are welcome to join in on those as well. We are always looking for content and storytelling. So if you have a great story to tell, please let us know. We'd be happy to help you amplify that news, especially if as it relates to any of our key strategies, and also looking for blogs and videos. So please continue to keep in touch with us and share as much information as possible. Leveraging resources from all of you is really, really helpful at this time and always. Really proud of all the work that's gone into this, and proud that just in the last week we've posted more than 25 blogs on our website, and that is in part because of the call that we had with many of you last week resulted in numerous blogs. So thank you to those of you who have already reached out, and please continue to do so. So with that, I will turn it back over to Jay.
Thanks, Tiffany. And again, thanks to all of you for contributing to so much of that success that Tiffany just talked about, and just really great contributions from so many of our investors and regional members. And so continue to keep those ideas coming our way. And we in no way have a monopoly on good ideas. And our team is constantly working closely with our counterparts across the country in chamber and economic development world in terms of sort of looking at best practices and what other regions are doing. And I know so many of you have these great connections statewide, nationally, and even internationally. So if there's other things you think we should or be looking at as an organization and as the partnership, please continue to feed those ideas to us, because again, there's a lot of great ideas out there that we want to take a look at, and if it can be helpful with, again, keeping businesses in business and keeping people working and keeping our community safe and healthy, we want to hear them. So with that, we're going to move on to an update on an initiative that most of you have not heard about yet. This is not out there public and won't be public for a while, at least for probably at least another week or so. But this is an initiative that our team has been working very, very hard on for a while, along with some of our public partners who you're going to be hearing about today. But the concept is to create a DSM Small Business Relief Grant Fund that would be complementary and to help fill some of the gaps that haven't been filled by either the federal or state programs for small business relief programs. So while the details are still being worked out, I thought this would be a great opportunity to provide an update from some of our key public partners who have been really instrumental in helping us frame this up, and to provide an update in kind of where we are now. So we have Polk County Supervisor Bob Brownell, and then also the City of Des Moines City Manager Scott Sanders. So I'm gonna have Bob, Supervisor Brownell, go first. And I know many of you know Bob. He's on our board and been an active member with our board on many initiatives for a long time, and it's been great working with him on this. He's been a real regional leader, and as those of you know Bob that know, he represents in his district Clive, Johnston, Urbandale, Windsor Heights, Grimes, Polk City, Alleman, Elkhart, and a portion of Shelldale that is in Polk County. So hope everybody got all that. But Bob, thank you for your leadership, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Jay. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. You never know on these things. Yeah, we've been working on this for a little while, and this isn't anything totally unique to the Des Moines metro area. There's a lot of municipalities, localities doing this. Some successfully, not as successfully as they'd wish, probably, because we're all kind of learning as we go on these kinds of things. But Indianapolis has done this pretty successfully. Phoenix has done it successfully, and there's others that are doing it. Philadelphia, Atlanta. You can kind of list all the major metros that are doing it. We even heard today that Cedar Rapids is trying to put together a plan to try to help out their local businesses. What this would be geared for is our smallest businesses, people that were probably closed first or pretty close to first. It would be geared towards employees, or not employees, but employers of 25 or less, including single sole proprietors. And maximum grant would be $15,000. That may be beyond our reach even at that level. But we think the average grant will probably be somewhere in the $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 range. It would be designed for folks that have not been approved or not received PPP funds or IDEA funds, and those would be the kind of folks that we're looking for, that kind of fall in the cracks or in the gap, or whatever slogan you want to use, and hopefully get them back on their feet again. We're hoping that many folks can go back to work, early May-ish. Now, whether we don't have any science to back any of that up, it's just what we hope, and we hope that we're going to be there to help them out and get there somehow as we start to gear back up again, which we will obviously gear back up again. But if we do nothing, I think we're going to lose a lot of small businesses. We tried to design this so that we could maybe pick up a month or two of rent. Is kind of how the size of these grants came about. We didn't want to keep it to that so much. We didn't want to, we don't have a team of auditors going around making sure that, that's being used for this thing or that. But we know that 99% of the people that we work with in this community are honest and are going to do their best and use the grant money they get the way they should. Will it cover everybody? No, we will not. Kim Reynolds mentioned the other day that their $24 million IDEA grants, they had $148 million in requests. I don't think we'll be that lopsided, but the requests will be more than what we have. So that's where we're at on that. But it's not perfect. It'll be good. It'll still be good. We'll still make an impact on the folks that we help. And the folks that we help, hopefully, will stay in business and become tax-paying citizens again, tax-paying businesses again, and be part of the fabric of the community again. Right now, we've got 4 communities that have committed to us, at least verbally, that they want to play in this arena. We're very grateful for that. It amounts to about 1.8 million so far with those 4 communities, the bulk of that being City of Des Moines, of course. And but still, I think we've got some positives going within the community here to participate in this and help local businesses. If a community comes in, let's say that Urbandale comes in, which they have committed, by the way. If Urbandale comes in, the money they put in will be used for Urbandale businesses. This isn't what happens to the money, their money, by doing it regionally is they get a county match and conceivably a match from the private sector. So doing it regionally makes more sense because you can leverage more money. Yes, your businesses will get your money. It's not going to be spread across the region, but we do have regional money in the form of county money and private sector money that'll be spread more regionally. So that's the way to do it. And we have a third-party administrator that'll be vetting these things and working with us, the same company that works with the state on their SBA loans and other things like that. That's an advantage to most of these communities, so you don't have to administer this stuff. And someone else does it for you, and that's now I've said that. Des Moines has some vetting to do because some of their money is CDBG money, and they have some requirements they need to get through. But basically, it'll be vetted and scored by a third party, and I think that's probably the way to do it. Anyway, that's my thumbnail sketch of this, Jay, and I might turn it over to Scott or back to you, whatever you want to do.
Thanks, Bob. My guess is there will probably be some more questions. I'll add a few more things after Scott. And so, Scott, if you're on here, we'll have Scott Sanders now as the city administrator for city manager for the City of Des Moines, and he and his team have been really, really helpful on this in really looking at what other regions and cities have been doing and providing some really valuable guidance as we continue to put the details on this. So, Scott.
Jay, hoping you can hear me. Good. Yeah, Des Moines, very, very thrilled to be able to be a part of this. Obviously, we appreciate the small business aspect of our economy. They do so much for us with the quality of life. The sales tax is crucial to our budgets as well. So in talking with the elected officials here in Des Moines, it was pretty evident that there's a desire to do something to reach out and help our small businesses. It is a short-term boost in the arm, if you will. I think Bob did a great job explaining that. I appreciate his leadership on this. But essentially, this is our opportunity to assist with the smallest of small businesses. So we'll rummage together some funds, see if we can get as many partners involved in this as possible. And time is crucial, so we'll see if we can't get this implemented quickly. So I'm available for questions.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks, Bob. And just wanted to mention too the partnership. We've really looked along with Bob and Scott and a lot of others in terms of sort of these best practices. And something that's unique with this one too is that our goal is to get the private sector to really step up and be a partner on this project. And I think that if those of you who heard me speak before, I was sort of talk about the secret sauce of Greater Des Moines, and those public-private partnerships are huge. And that's what our goal is to sort of leverage with the private sector for those who are able to help with this and to leverage these public dollars to help as many of these small businesses within these communities who decide to participate. And at the same time, one of the things that we're going to do is, with Bob mentioned the third-party administrator, which we're working with. It's same group that's been working with the state in terms of their programs, or one of the groups that's been working with the state. And we're going to cover from the partnership side the admin costs of bringing on that third-party administrator. So all the dollars that are raised from the public and private sector will go directly to these small businesses. And again, it's really meant to be these bridge loans or bridge grants to get them through here in the next very short term, to keep as many afloat as we can, the ones that have really been struggling, especially those who with the closure requirements from the state. So anyway, we're still working on details, and so just bear with us on that. But especially those of you in the private sector I would just highly encourage you to consider participating in this. There's a number of you who we're going to be reaching out to directly here in the next few days, but this is a big deal. I'm happy to share best practices in terms of what some of these other regions are doing. But our small businesses really need us right now. It's a huge part of our quality of life fabric. And when we're attracting and retaining talent, just think about, our restaurant scene and all that, all those other businesses or small retail. It's a huge part of what we're doing with economic development that doesn't always get a lot of credit or attention. And right now they're really hurting. And we need to do everything we can here in the next month or so to really help them. So I'm sure there'll be some more questions about that towards the end. And again, sort of bear with us. We're still working out the details, and this thing isn't going to be public for probably at least until next week at a minimum. So with that, we're going to move on to our next topic. This is another huge issue in our community right now. Some of what you're going to be hearing, you may have heard about in the media so far, and some of it you haven't. But a huge issue right now with the public schools is a mass shift in terms of trying to deliver online content. And some of our schools, at least Des Moines Public, has announced that they're not going to be open again physically for the rest of this year. A number of other schools are still weighing that. But everybody is dealing with what do we do to deliver this online content, and what's that mean in terms of internet access and also in terms of hardware. And huge issues with certain populations in terms of families who maybe are on free and reduced lunch and are just sort of that might not have that access right now. And then how do you get that access, and then how do you deliver that content? So we've been working very closely with Des Moines Public Schools and some other partners in terms of helping devise some strategies, some of which you've probably seen in the media, and also have had contact with a number of the suburbs as well, just in terms of what they're doing, which are some similar things. And so we thought it'd be helpful and insightful to bring Tom Ahart to this meeting and make him part of it to give an update from his perspective. And then we're also going to be hearing from Steve Purcell after Tom has given his update. And Steve is MediaCom's Group Vice President, who's responsible for operations throughout most of Iowa, but he also is working in operations in Missouri and eastern Kansas as well. So without further ado, Dr. Tom Ahart, Superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, and he is on the partnerships board as well. So Tom.
Thanks, Jay. I thought I'd share just a little bit of background before we get to the connectivity piece. We did make the decision to close Des Moines schools for the remainder of the year, and did not make that decision lightly. I've been in contact with our leadership at our hospital systems in the metro very regularly over the last couple of months. And it was apparent, even a month ago, that it would not be safe at any time to bring staff and family, or staff and students back into our schools through the remainder of the regularly scheduled year, which concludes at the end of May. So we thought it was important for a couple of reasons to make that decision as soon as possible. The first just being that this physical distancing situation that we're in, with many of our businesses being closed, at least closed in terms of business as usual, is putting a real strain on a lot of our families. And the more clarity we could give them about what the future is going to look like through the remainder of the year was really important in terms of planning for childcare, et cetera. And maybe the more important piece was, we know we're going to be losing instructional time with a large group of students that really can ill afford to be losing time in school. And to really serve those students effectively and meaningfully, we needed to shift to a distance learning mode. And that was going to take a tremendous lift. And so rather than have one foot in attempting to do a huge transition to distance learning, and the other foot of the organization trying to have our schools ready to reopen, in 2 weeks' time, we thought it best all the way around to just announce that we're closing. With 40,000 people in and out of our schools every day when we're open for business, any health impact, negative health impact, it gets quickly spread over our entire community. So we felt a responsibility in that regard. So we continue to serve our families, but differently. Since March 26th, we've served about 170,000 meals. We're distributing meals at a number of sites around the city, and starting next Monday, that the number of those sites will increase to 50, which then means transportation and congestion at the distribution sites eases. And we have a very active arm of the organization that's providing family services and helping connect our families to a whole host of critical assistance during this time, whether that's employment or financial assistance or legal aid, domestic violence, childcare, a whole host of other support services. So one thing that some of you may know, Des Moines Public Schools operates a virtual campus. We call it. It's an all virtual high school. That's been we piloted that program last year, and we have about 400 students in the program this year. And so that's the only school in the whole state that has not closed during this pandemic. So we do have some expertise in our system for delivering distance learning. However, the vast majority of our staff have not delivered instruction that way, and certainly most of our students, especially our younger ones, are not used to an online learning environment. So once we knew we were going to be closed for a while, even before that, we started using some of our closure time to provide professional development for our teachers, to help them get comfortable with our online learning platform, and to learn techniques and strategies to work with their students in an asynchronous environment. We've been providing printed materials for our families, and at the meal distribution sites, we've distributed over 30,000 work packets to students since we've been closed, and we also have that same information downloadable for those families who have that capacity at home. So the big challenge for us was getting a computer device in the hands of every student. We have enough computers, we just didn't have a distribution system in place, obviously. And the other more challenging hurdle for us was getting all of our students connected to the internet. We started with about 5,000 students that didn't have, or 5,000 homes rather, that didn't have internet connectivity at home. And so that has been quite a heavy lift, and certainly one that we knew existed and that we've taken some stabs at addressing. But the current environment really shines a very bright spotlight on this challenge in our community, and really points to how important it is that we have a better developed and easier access to a high-speed internet network within the city. In Des Moines, we serve just under 33,000 students, and over 75% of those students qualify for free or reduced price meals, which is the government's proxy for measuring poverty. 22% of our students are not native English speakers, and so that poses another challenge. So our first priority was reaching out to our senior class, those students that are planning to graduate, and we want to make sure that there are no barriers because of the pandemic to students graduating. And then along with that group of seniors, we also reached out to our underclassmen who are taking advanced placement courses and concurrent enrollment courses with our community college partners to make sure that those opportunities weren't lost. And so as of Monday, we have all of our seniors and our AP students and concurrent enrollment students connected to the internet with a device in their hands. And this Friday, we'll be distributing about, I'm not sure how many devices we'll be distributing, but we'll be making connectivity to about 1,270 underclassmen. And then the following week, we'll have about somewhere around 2,500 more internet connections to make as we get all of our pre-K through 8th grade students connected. I need to recognize that we knew this was going to be an extraordinarily heavy lift, and frankly, when we moved into it, I wasn't sure how we were going to get it done, and I really appreciate Jay and Mary from the partnership sitting down with me as they've done in the past on this very same topic, and helping bring some partners to the table who are helping us get this work done, not the least of which is MediaCom and Steve Purcell. In fact, right before this meeting started, I got a text from my technology director saying that Steve would be calling me. So I suppose that'll be happening sometime after this convening. So I don't know if that covers what we want to cover, but I'll either turn this back to Jay or to Steve if he's on the line.
Thanks, Tom. I think I saw Steve, so appreciate your comments very much and your leadership, and likely there'll be some questions. My guess is if you're able to stick on the call through the next half hour, that would be great. So Steve, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. We are in the process of really kind of revamping processes of delivering service to these particular addresses. So been working real close with Tom and his team on getting the addresses, verifying which ones we are able to provide service to, which is a majority of them, and then trying to streamline activations, which physically means going to each household and activating the drops, and then also provision and modems and stuff to hand off for the folks to be able to install those. Right now we've got some internal staffing that's doing it, but we continue to see improvements on the processes to speed things up. I was going to give Tom a call, to let him know, we had discussed about being able to bring some third-party contractors in, and we will be adding them into the mix next week, which will increase that capacity. And Tom, the good news is, MediaCom, we're going to go ahead and cover that cost as well. So, that'll be a donation to the school district on our end, and we anticipate that to probably well over $100,000 that we'll pay contractors in order to speed up and ramp up the activations to these households. But
that's phenomenal, Steve. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you bet. As we mentioned when we first started talking, our goal was to jump right in and see what we could do to help, and that's been our task ever since. A lot of conference calls, a lot of team meetings here. Socially distancing team meetings, but just trying to organize our processes to get things done in the most efficient fashion as possible. So, but we should see a nice ramp up beginning next week with even more numbers than what we did yesterday, and then what we plan on doing over the rest of this week. That's
awesome. I'm learning a lot on this call too that I didn't know. So thank you so much. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Steve. Both of these two have been just incredible. Spent a lot of time chatting with both of them in the last week plus. So thank you for joining us today too. Thanks for your leadership and really stepping up. Again, there'll be time to ask questions at the end if you have any regarding these initiatives. And so now I'm going to move into Mary Bontrager, our Executive Vice President of Talent Development, if she's got any gaps to fill in on this initiative, and just an update on some other things we're doing on the talent front. Mary.
Great, thank you, Jay. And just to reiterate the extreme need, and to congratulate Tom and all the partners on this effort. As Tom had mentioned, this issue was not new. It's something that has been in existence for a number of years. But as we look at, our goals around DSM Future Ready, and already recognizing that there were some gaps in access to equity and education, and how this really was elevated, and really in this extenuating circumstances, the way partners like MediaCom and others came to the table, and Tom and his team, what you've put into play in a very, very short period of time is quite honestly nothing short of miraculous. Similar to the small business grant program, we had looked at other examples around the country, and I can tell you what we saw had nothing of the depth of intentionality, collaboration, and now this investment that the corporate partners are making. And Steve, thank you so much in MediaCom for not only the great work you've done, but again, that investment that you're making in ensuring that we do have a talent pool that will be future-ready DSM. So thank you very much on that. I just would reiterate again, Tiffany mentioned the DSM Employment Ready work and the fact that we have launched this new series of podcasts and blogs, really talking about this future world of work, and the focus on the podcasts and blogs will be about those skills and competencies that we know all of our workers will need as we move into this future world of work that, again, is coming at us more rapidly, I think, than we thought, because this situation with technology coming into play and the need for more in automation and robotics in manufacturing and all of those new technologies that we want to make sure we are helping our talent pool in the DSM region better understand how they can increase their employability value moving forward. And again, to not forget that the DSM Employment Ready site is also about helping to make connections to those immediate hiring needs that our companies have. And we know we have companies that are in need right now. So anyone that you know of looking for people to help through this extenuating time, please encourage them to go to DSM Employment Ready, and we'll get their jobs posted out there. So with that, thank you, Jay. Tom, Steve, thank you for the tremendous work you've done to really ensure that our students, all students, have equal access to great education in our community.
Thanks, Mary. We're going to move now to Meg Schneider, who is our Senior Vice President of Business Resources and Community Development. Meg, maybe if you want to fill in any other thoughts on the presentation earlier on the grant program and other updates and what you're hearing from our affiliate members.
Sure, thanks for that opportunity. And thank you, Supervisor Brownell and Scott Sanders, for your leadership in this grant concept. And I know there are many other city leaders on the call, so I really want to thank you all for potentially putting some muscle behind this. As was earlier alluded to, the need in our small business community is really profound. So hopefully we can continue to chip away at this in really innovative ways. On a positive note, the Paycheck program is up and running, and in Iowa they've processed just over 22,000 applications, which is great. But it's also just the start. If you think about our region, we have 26,000 businesses in our region. So, but it's good traction for at least the first week. As of Friday, proprietors can now apply for that program, although some of the rules are still being fine-tuned. But $3.7 billion has already been is starting to roll out. So that's really encouraging. But also when you think about small businesses, they typically have 30 or 45 days runway in their reserves, and so we're very quickly moving to being on borrowed time for them. So just continue to support your local businesses as much as you possibly can. And remember the DSM local challenges and the bingo cards that we all have out there, and pull out those businesses that are out there and still delivering and being creative and innovative, which is absolutely what they are. It's in their DNA. So I would continue to encourage you to do that. And then also just note that we have a wide array of programming that we continue to assemble to support those businesses. And it really ranges anything from thinking about your profitability or your sales in this time when you can't actually call upon people, to managing stress and some of these mental health challenges that come with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Appreciate that very much. And again, opportunities for questions, conclusion. David Moss, I'm going to ask him to go next. He is our Executive Vice President on Economic Development. Again, any additional thoughts on the grant program and what we're hearing from our regional economic development partners? David.
Thanks, Jay. Again, I want to thank Bob Burnell and Scott for their leadership on this program, as well as yours, Jay. We're getting some very good positive feedback from communities in Polk County. City managers are visiting about this program with their city councils this week and next week, and we hope to get feedback from those communities probably mid next week in terms of their interest in joining the 4 communities that Bob alluded to earlier. So strong interest, and it's a very, very important program for small businesses, as Meg emphasized.
Thanks, David. We're going to move on to Andrea Woodard, our Senior Vice President for Government Relations and Public Policy. And as we know, there's lots been going on federal, state, and local level. Andrea's been doing a great job. So Andrea, it's your.
Thanks, Jay. A few updates at the state and federal level. The governor started talking about her Iowa Economic Recovery Task Force, which will start meeting tomorrow. That will start as a compilation of state leaders at this point and expand in the next couple of weeks. But they will be looking at what those phases of recovery look like. How do we transition back into our whatever the new normal ends up looking like? So we'll be following that closely. They also announced an updated dashboard for the coronavirus.iowa.gov website, and then continue to share daily updates on the spread of the virus. The state legislature will return at some point before the end of August, and timing of that is still up in the air, not determined, and exactly what that will look like, that hasn't been determined. There's lots of conversations happening, and as we get further into the next month or so is when we'll start to have an idea of what that looks like. Federally, the Congress will not return. Their members will not return until May 4th. So anything that could be done has to be done by unanimous consent. So we don't really expect to see a whole lot between now and then. But what they are working on is what does that next piece of legislation look like? It's something we've been talking about for over a week now, but will they add additional dollars to the Payment Protection Program or other current existing programs? Those negotiations are happening, but they do continue to talk about what that infrastructure package looks like eventually. And now is really the time to be sharing those priorities. Partnership is taking the strategic priorities we had identified, taking on those goals that Jay and others have outlined to keep businesses in business, keep people working, and keep our communities healthy, and using that as a guidepost to make asks for the region. So we're working on that, and we encourage all of our members and investors to be sharing those with the congressional offices. And speaking of, tomorrow morning at 8:30, we are hosting Senator Grassley, Senator Ernst, and Congresswoman Axney for an investor event to hear some updates from them and have a chance to get in a few questions to each of them at least. They will take turns providing some updates and remarks, and then we will get a chance to ask each of them, like I said, a few questions. So those are the updates I have. Happy to talk to anyone and answer any additional questions here as we wrap up.
Thanks, Andrea. Great update, as always. Moving on, I see Mr. Meyer. Gene is our partnership president, and he's going to give a couple quick updates on downtown.
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. We've received what I would call a couple of soft leads that are economic development related to downtown. So even in these times, people are looking around, which is good. Great progress continues on the Skywalk program, and as Jay talks about, one of the key initiatives and one of the key things we do well as a region is a public-private partnership. And so this is a partnership between the Greater Des Moines Partnership, Operation Downtown, City of Des Moines, Polk County, Skywalk Association, Electronic Engineering. We're running cable systems now through the downtown core, through the Skywalk systems and private businesses, and moving in the direction of getting that project completed. And then lastly, something that we're excited about is we're reviewing leases right now, but we're close to signing a lease which will move our 13 ambassadors with Operation Downtown back into the core of the city. They've been other offices since the parking ramp went down at 4th and Walnut, so we're real excited about that. So that's all I've got, Jay. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Gene. Appreciate it very much. We're going to move back to Tiffany for some calls to action and some things you already heard about. But again, we've got currently 91 on the call right now too. So there is a lot of collective horsepower here. And I think the more that we're all working on these things together, the more impact we're going to have. So Tiffany.
Yes, thanks again to our special guests for joining us today. I know everybody's eager to jump into that Q&A. So just as a quick reminder of some of the calls to action, as we start to wrap up this part of the presentation, please feel free to join in on any of our upcoming virtual events. We have numerous events available and open to you and the public on an ongoing basis for the next month. We also have lots of great story ideas to share, but we need your help with sharing more. So would ask you to please be sure to let me know. And our outstanding PR department with Courtney Shaw and Kyle Oppenheisen, we're eager to help you with those media pitches. Also always looking for more content to create and curate. So let us know if you have ideas on that. We want to help you tell your story. Also, a quick reminder about the referral network. So we are specifically asking any professionals with legal, banking, finance experience, CPAs to help us with connecting with those small businesses and individuals that need just some help and guidance right now. So those are listed on our website, but we are looking for more professionals to help us with that referral network. If you're interested, let us know. And then, of course, continue to leverage the DSM Local Challenge as well as the DSM Strong, not only the hashtags, but please support local businesses and please help us continue to share those stories of strength, positivity, and resilience for our community. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to you, Jay.
Thanks, Tiffany. There's 3 questions I saw that have been posted on the chat about the small business grant relief program we're working on. I'm going to have Meg, if you want to address the first 2, and then Bob, if you can see that chat, if you can maybe answer the third one.
I'm hoping I have a better mic right now and you're not hearing the fact that I've bribed my son with an iPad sitting right next to me. So sorry about all of that background noise prior. Our aim here is, so the questions in the chat are specific to, how do you get connected with this program once live? So there's still a lot of pieces that are fluid. We're working through that, and once live, we will host the information about this grant, the details that you need to gather before you apply, just to have all those records handy, and then the link to apply. And our goal, again, is to make this a fairly simple application process and as quick of a turnaround as we can possibly do. And again, looking at some of those, more Main Street types of businesses who were hit hard and fast, and those also that are solvent enough to be able to come back and turn on the lights again once we finally get those green lights from those in the know and in the epidemiology field as they start to give us those thumbs ups. So that's the thought at this point. So.
Bob, the other question was communities who have committed so far.
Right. Right now, we've heard from City of Urbandale. They haven't taken a vote on it yet, but the council's it's been discussed with the city council and everyone, and they've reacted very positively to it. So we're very grateful for that. Johnston, same thing. They've discussed it with their city council, haven't voted on anything yet, but reacted very positively. And we heard this morning that West Des Moines is wanting to be in, and are looking at the schedule that we put out. And now the schedule is a suggested schedule. A city can do whatever they want. And then the county match goes along with it. Because we try to design it so more is more and less is less. So the more one puts in, the bigger the county match is, of course, and probably the private sector match for that matter. The other thing I wanted to say about the application is we're working that through, as Meg said. We're trying to take something that's very complex and make it very simple, because we don't want people to get caught up in this huge paper chase and tripping over themselves, trying to wade their way through a bureaucracy of rules and regulations and reviews and so forth and audits that in order to get $7,000 or $8,000, which may be very meaningful for them, but we also don't want to make it very difficult for them either. We want to err on the side of making it simple and making it fast, but we don't want to err at all if we can help it. So that's kind of a tough balance to make, but that's what we're trying to work through, and depending on the Iowa Center to really give us a lot of guidance on that. These will be scored. So there'll be a scoring matrix that'll go along with it, and then the city involved, the way we have this planned anyway, the city involved, let's say it's Johnston, will get a list of businesses that they feel score well enough to get a grant, and then Johnston will get to weigh in on whether they like it or not. I'm sure they will, but I mean we want the cities to be involved in this every inch of the way. So without having to administer everything themselves. So that's kind of how that hopefully will work.
Thanks, Bob, and thanks, Meg. I don't see any other question. Oh, let's see here. Here we go. We got another one here. This one is to you, Tom, if you're still on. When will Des Moines Public Schools know what their plan is to resume learning and instruction in the fall? Clearly, COVID-19 will still be in and among our community in late August, so we'll need to resume school and allow for the pandemic to continue at a lower level. So question is, Tom, what are you thinking for the fall at this point?
That's a great question, and we're actively discussing that. We do hope to resume in the fall, but we don't know what that might look like. One of the things that we're trying to capture as we go through our current transition into virtual learning is how do we, what can we learn from this, and what can we turn around and reconnect in very short order with in the event that we have either a significant change in what normal looks like moving into the fall, or in the event that we start relatively normally but then are interrupted by a second wave of the virus. So right now I don't have a good answer to that, except to say that we're actively working on that and trying to make, with the cooperation of healthcare professionals, trying to figure out what safe will look like when fall rolls around. And we're also looking for opportunities to extend student learning, probably virtually, over the course of the summer. But no hard answers there at this time.
I don't see any other questions, and it looks like we're getting very close to that 1 o'clock hour. So I know everybody's busy. We want to respect everybody's time. So I guess with that, we'll probably wrap this up for today. We plan to continue to hosting these. Maybe one more question here. No, maybe not. Okay, so anyway, I think we're going to continue to be hosting these every week is what we're planning on doing, at least in the short term, to continue to provide updates. So really appreciate everybody taking time. And as we continue to look at the three priorities of keeping businesses in business, keeping people working, and keeping our region healthy, please continue to provide us feedback. Let us know what you're hearing out there. Keep feeding us with ideas. And again, if anybody wants to do any sort of follow-up with any one of us individually after this, happy to do that anytime. And that'll be the case, as it's always been and moving forward. So thank you so much for you being investors in the partnership and being regional members. I always say this, but we're called the partnership for a reason, because that you are us and we are you. And we're the public-private voice, regional voice. And we're going to get through all this together like we have been. And again, very, very proud of all of you for stepping up during these unprecedented times. There's a lot of uncertainty, but there's no place I'd rather be than in DSM USA and working with all of you. So thanks for what you're doing. And I'm going to leave you with a quote today from Martin Luther King Jr. So I think it's important for us to, continue to learn from the wise leaders of the past, and it's one of the reasons why we're doing our leadership podcast as well. So the ultimate measure of a person is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort or convenience, but where he or she stands at times of challenge and controversy. And I think that is very true right now. You see a lot of people stepping up in big ways. We need to continue to dig deep. We need to continue to step up as a region, and we're committed at the partnership to do that, and we know all of you are too. So look forward to our next briefing. And again, if anybody would like to connect one-on-one or with me or any of our team leaders, please let us know, and we'll continue to plow forward full steam ahead, and we're going to get through this, and very excited for what our future is going to look like once the economy starts ramping up. So thank you so much for your time, and look forward to the next call.